Franz Rosensweig is surely the most perplexing figure that we'll read in this course, and his curiosity and wonder and mystical approach to a Jewish philosophy of religion left us with this book that is ripe for meaning making. In fact, I've asked you to read the foreword by Oppenheim just to get a better sense of who Rosenzweig was. The whole book is structured around three parts, built around the Jewish Star of David, which you can see figured just before the beginning of Rosenzweig's introduction. The Star of David, in his reading, conjoins the everlasting elements and the renewed elements of the world. And in part one of his book, Rosenzweig is interested in three main areas: God, or metaphysics, the world and its meaning, or meta-logic, and then humankind and ourselves, or meta-ethics. The term meta, of course, is Greek and means something like beyond or above or over. So in the introduction to the Star of Redemption, Rosenzweig begins by writing, quote, "From death, it is from the fear of death that all cognition of the all begins." End of quote. You may recall from our study of Luria and Kabbalah that the All, or the Ein Sof, is a sort of term for God, but it extends beyond that. In this introduction, Rosenzweig draws lessons from various philosophers like Hegel and Kierkegaard, Schopenhauer, Nietzsche, and I don't think that you should feel intimidated if you aren't already deeply familiar with these figures and their specific arguments. He tells you enough that to use, like to have a familiarity with what the parts of them that he wants you to know. So don't worry about not knowing a ton of Nietzsche, for example. Pay attention instead to what Rosenzweig says about Nietzsche. Most of all, this is a text that is, as I said, ripe for meaning making. There isn't a single correct interpretation per se. Read it and wrestle with it and let the interpretations come to you. He will say on page 20, for example, that the world is not a-logical, that is to say, anti-logical or non-logical. On the contrary, he says, the logical is an essential ingredient in the world. The world is not alogical, but instead meta-logical, beyond logical. That is to say, there is a logic to this world, but that meta-logic will elude us. It's beyond our grasp. And in Rosenzweig's style of writing, it might feel that way as well, certainly. It can be quite complex and difficult to make sense of. But read closely and consider how many different ways we could understand the same sentence. And as I said, just try to let the interpretations come as they may.